We're back with another Alireza Firouzja game, but this time we're not picking on his King's Indian defense. This time he's playing the white pieces, and he plays one of the scariest attacking gambits against the Caro-Kann. It's called the Hillbilly Attack. So let's dive right in. Alireza's got the white pieces. He plays pawn to e4, c6, bishop c4, d5. This is the Caro-Kann by black. And now after bishop to b3, this is called the Hillbilly Attack. And the idea is, after d takes e4, it opens up this diagonal to the f7 pawn. And eventually white wants to play f3, and knight takes f3, or recapture this pawn and just use the bishop to generate an attack. So queen to h5 played by Alireza. At this moment in the club level database, so for club level players, white is winning 52% to black's 44%. So black has to be careful here. Pawn to g6. Queen drops back to h4. She's eyeing this pawn, but also she's helping to defend h6. So the queen from h4 defends h6, and picture a fianchetto setup for black later with the king on g8. Bishop to h6 is a good way to undermine that g7 bishop. Knight f6, knight c3, ready to capture. Bishop to g7. Now here Alireza deviates a little bit from the standard Hillbilly attack. Normally I would expect pawn to f3. And allowing this trade e for f. But here he has something cooked up for his opponent. He plays knight to e2. And after castle, he simply takes back. So Alireza is not down a pawn currently, but he does have a bit more space with his pieces. So after knight takes, queen takes, notice how that queen is kind of controlling the full center of the board. There's still this bishop x-raying the pawn on f7 to point at the king on g8. And there's this potential for the h-pawn to run up the board and start attacking the black king. And Alireza loves to attack, like we've seen. One of the best plans for black here is not easy to spot. It's to play a5, a4. And black sort of misses this the rest of the game, but that's the best way to try to fight against this hillbilly bishop sitting on b3. Knight to d7 by black, pawn to d4, grabbing extra space in the center, also preparing this bishop to develop out the diagonal. Pawn to c5, natural move trying to eliminate this center pawn that Alireza has because black didn't have any pawns on the 5th rank yet. Bishop to e3 to defend. C takes, bishop takes. So at first glance, it looks like maybe Alireza's just fine swapping everything off. Like, is he good just going into the endgame here? That's not his plan though. Knight to f6, he puts the queen back over on the h file. Queen to h4. We're 13 moves in. And look at this. Alireza has not castled the king yet, but he has intentions to castle queenside. And we're going to see opposite side castling with a kingside attack by Firouzja. Bishop to d7. And there it is, queenside castle. Queen c7. He tucks the king away on b1. The king's almost always safer on b1 than c1 when you have a queenside castle position. Rook a to c8. Knight to c3. Bishop f5. Rook h to e1. Look at how he puts his rooks on the two. Well, I guess one's an open file, one's a half open file, but the two files that don't have any white pawns on them. And now he wants to play for pawn to g4. So as soon as he can safely play g4, it's going to kick the bishop. Then it could potentially go to g5, kicking the knight. That's going to be the way for Alireza to generate his kingside attack. Pawn to a6 played, and it looks like black wants to start a pawn storm over on the queen side. Pawn to h3. The idea is simply play g4 next. Now we see a mistake by black. He's trying to play a prophylactic move and prevent pawn to g4. But really the better plan was to bring a rook into the game, like maybe rook to d8 or this rook to d8, trying to create a little counterplay on this d4 bishop, and then play pawn to b5 attacking queenside. But this pawn to h5, that's a very committal move. It moves a pawn away from the king. So that's a potential weakness around the black king. And Alireza shows, hey, I can still play g4 by now playing f3 first. So both of these pawns defend the g4 square. So Alireza can play g4 next. And that's the problem with playing pawn to h5, is that g4 is still going to be played. Rook f to d8. Pawn to g4, excellent move. And this black king is about to be exposed. H takes g, h takes g. H file is wide open now. That's a scary look for the black king sitting on g8. Bishop back to e6. Now, I think black was thinking, okay, bishop takes e6, f takes e6. If rook takes e6, here's a little tactic here. Queen c4, hitting the rook and creating a double attack on the bishop. And there's no rook e4 because the knight guards it. So I think black had that tactic in mind. That's why he put the bishop on e6 here. But Alireza had a really strong move. Rook takes e6. Brilliant idea. Temporarily sacrificing the exchange. And after f takes e6, bishop takes back with a check, hitting the rook on c8. So the king has to move. Now bishop takes c8. G5 there was also pretty strong. Queen takes back on c8. The queen slides all the way back to e1. Now at first glance I thought this move looks a little bit strange, but there's an idea here. The queen actually pressures the pawn on e7. This bishop is lined up with the bishop on g7. And the idea is Alireza wants to play pawn to g5, kicking this knight, and then the king is actually overworked, trying to defend both of these pieces at the same time. Queen c6 played by black, and I think he just missed the threat. A better move was king to f7, which just looks really odd to me. But queen to c6 is a mistake. Alireza plays pawn to g5, and now the knight has no good moves. The top move for black is actually rook takes d4, just sacrificing some material. But instead he plays knight d7, bishop takes g7, king takes, queen takes e7 check, and black resigns. Make sure to check out the link in the description for our free Caro-Kann Quick Start course, and also check out the other video on how to beat the Hillbilly Attack from the black side. Thanks for watching, guys.